You've seen it. I know you've seen it. If you've spent more than 5 minutes on Facebook or YouTube this week, this thing is everywhere. New federal law forces all seniors over 70 to take annual driving tests. The DMV is coming for your license in 2026. If you're over 65, prepare to lose your independence. Look, it's going viral. People are sharing it. They're angry, and frankly, it's genuinely scaring people. And I get it. Your car. I mean, in America, your car is your freedom, right? But here is the absolute truth that nobody else on this platform is telling you. Today, I'm going to debunk this nonsense. But I'm going to do something much more important. Because while everyone is panicking about losing a plastic card in their wallet, they are completely ignoring the massive, quiet financial storm brewing right behind it. I'm talking about the exact moment your health changes, and how that triggers a catastrophic chain reaction for your retirement savings, your Social Security, and the legacy you plan to leave your kids. You see, the threat isn't the DMV taking your keys. The real threat is what happens to your estate when the state decides you can't drive anymore. So, grab a notepad, get your coffee, because today we aren't just talking about traffic laws. We are talking about wealth preservation. We are talking about navigating IRS regulations, avoiding the devastating Medicare spend-down traps, and protecting your hard-earned assets. Now, before we get into the heavy financial strategies, my compliance team will literally have a heart attack. If I don't say this, disclaimer time. I am a retirement financial strategist, but I am not your specific advisor. Everything we talk about today is for educational, analytical, and historical context only. I'm not giving you personalized financial, legal, or tax advice. Always sit down with a certified public accountant or a fiduciary financial advisor to look at your unique situation before making any moves. All right, housekeeping done. Let's get to work. So, let's take a second to completely debunk the noise and that illusion of federal control. Let's start with these viral posts. The claim is that Washington, D.C., the federal government, has passed a sweeping new law requiring mandatory road tests for anyone over 70, or you face automatic license revocation. Listen to me carefully. This is flat out 100% false. It's fiction. There is no federal law. There never was a federal law, and constitutionally speaking, there really can't be one. Driver licensing in the United States has always been controlled by individual states. It falls under the 10th Amendment states' rights. Washington doesn't issue your license. They don't renew it, and they sure as heck don't revoke it. I mean, think about it. Congress can barely agree on what day of the week it is. You really think they're coordinating a national takeover of your local DMV? Every version of this story has been debunked by the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Everyone. So when you see your neighbor post this on Facebook, do yourself a favor. Just keep scrolling. But, and this is a massive but, just because the federal government isn't coming for your license doesn't mean things aren't changing. They are. At the state level, and ironically, some of the changes happening right now in places like Illinois and California are actually loosening the rules. For instance, Illinois, effective July 1st, 2026, is changing its mandatory road test age. It used to be 79. They're bumping it up to 87. If you're 82 in Chicago right now, you just got a massive reprieve. California, They quietly eliminated the mandatory written knowledge test for drivers 70 and older at renewal, as long as you have a clean record. So, good news, right? You get to keep driving. You don't have to take the test. Case closed. Let's all go home. Wrong. This is where the average guy stops thinking, and where the wealthy, the ones who preserve their wealth across generations, start paying attention. Let's talk about the silent tax inflation, fixed incomes, and what the real data is showing us. Because let me ask you a question. Let's say you're 75. You don't have to take a road test. You keep your license, you keep your car. Have you looked at your auto insurance premiums lately? Let's talk numbers. Let's talk about the reality of living on a fixed income in the America we live in right now. You're retired. Maybe you're pulling from Social Security, taking your required minimum distributions, RMD, from your 401k or traditional IRA. You have a budget. According to recent Consumer Price Index reports from the Bureau of Labor Statistics BLS, motor vehicle insurance costs have absolutely skyrocketed. We've seen periods recently where auto insurance spiked over 20% year over 20%. Now, look at your Social Security cost of living adjustment COLA. What did you get last year? 3.2%, maybe 2.5% coming up. Do the math. If your income goes up 3%, but the cost to legally keep that car on the road goes up 20%. You have a negative cash flow situation. You are bleeding capital. I call this the silent tax. It's an invisible hand reaching into your retirement portfolio and pulling out cash just so you can drive to the grocery store. And if you're pulling extra money out of your tax-deferred accounts like your IRA just to pay these inflated insurance premiums, what happens? You're triggering higher income taxes. You might even be pushing yourself into a higher tax bracket, which then triggers the RMA, a surcharge on your Medicare Part B and Part D premiums. It's crazy, right? You pay more for insurance, so you withdraw more from your IRA, which raises your taxable income, which makes the government charge you more for Medicare. It is a vicious, wealth-destroying cycle. So, when these YouTubers tell you, hey, don't worry, the DMV isn't taking your license, I'm sitting here thinking, who cares about the DMV? The inflation and the tax code are doing enough damage already. Tell me in the comments, right now seriously, scroll down and tell me how much did your auto insurance jump at your last renewal. I'm betting it wasn't a small number. Now, as bad as that inflation trap is, let's get into the most misunderstood part of this whole DMV situation. Think of this as the canary in the coal mine, your doctor's legal obligations, and the terrifying reality of long-term care. This is the stuff that financial advisors charge thousands of dollars to explain to high-net-worth clients. In the original viral rumors, there is a kernel of truth, and it's this. In a growing number of states, California, Delaware, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Nevada, your doctor has a legal obligation to report certain medical conditions directly to the DMV. Not a suggestion. A legal mandate if you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's, dementia, severe epilepsy, or certain vision impairments. Your doctor sends a letter to the DMV. The DMV then triggers a review, and yes, that can lead to your license being suspended if you don't pass a medical evaluation. Most people look at this and think, oh no, I'm going to lose my car. If your doctor is sending that letter to the DMV because of cognitive decline, your car is the least of your problems. That letter is a massive, flashing red siren for your financial survival. Why? Because cognitive decline means you are stepping into the realm of long-term care. Let me hit you with some real data, not Facebook rumors. Data. According to the Genworth Cost of Care, survey, which is basically the gold standard for tracking this stuff. National median cost for a private room in a nursing home has crossed $116,000 a year. In some states, like New York or Massachusetts, it's closer to $150,000 or even $180,000. Medicare does not pay for custodial long-term care. I repeat, they do not pay for it. Medicare regular. But Medicaid is a poverty program. To qualify for Medicaid, to pay for that $116,000 nursing home, you have to spend down nearly all your assets. Imagine this scenario. You and your spouse have worked for 40 years. You paid off the house. You have $500,000 in an IRA. You want to leave it to your grandkids. Then one of you gets that diagnosis. The doctor notifies the DMV. You lose the license. 2 years later, you need a memory care facility because you didn't plan ahead. The state says, sure, we'll help pay for care. Right after you drain that $500,000 IRA down to about $2,000. And when you pull that money out of the IRA to pay the facility, guess who shows up? The IRS. Because it's fully taxable income. So you are paying income tax on the money you are being forced to spend to go broke. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal. This is why the DMV rule matters. The moment you are medically unfit to drive, you might also be rapidly approaching the point where you are legally unfit to make financial decisions. If you wait until the DMV suspends your license for dementia, it is usually too late to set up the legal structures needed to protect your money. So, with the clock ticking on these tax laws and health risks, how do we mount a strategic defense? How do we protect the empire you've built? Whether that empire is $100,000 or $10 million, we use the law, we use strategy. If you are 65 or older, you shouldn't be worrying about passing a road test. You should be worrying about having a bulletproof, durable power of attorney and an advanced healthcare directive. If you lose cognitive function, someone needs the legal authority to sign tax returns, manage your RM, and protect your assets. If you don't have a power of attorney, your family has to go to court and get a concern. It's expensive, it's public, and it's a nightmare. Second, we need to talk about trusts, specifically the difference between a revocable living trust and an irrevocable trust. A lot of folks have a revocable trust to avoid probate. That's great. But hear me clearly. A revocable trust does nothing to protect your assets from a Medicaid spend down. Because it's revocable, the government views it as your money. If you get sick, they will force you to break open that trust and spend it on the nursing home. If you want to protect the house and the legacy from long-term care costs, you usually need an irrevocable Medicaid asset protection trust. But there is a 5-year look-back period in most states. You have to move the assets into the trust 5 years before you apply for Medicaid. You see the timeline here? If you wait for the doctor to tell the DMV you can't drive, you probably don't have 5 years left. You have to do this while you are healthy, while you are still passing that driving test with flying colors. And there is another ticking clock you need to know about: the IRS. Right now, we are living under the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. It gives us historically high estate tax exemptions and very favorable tax brackets. But unless Congress acts, which we know they rarely do, this act is going to sunset at the end of 2025. Starting in 2026, tax brackets are likely reverting back to higher levels. The estate tax exemption is going to be cut roughly in half. If you have a sizable estate or a business or multiple properties, and you know your driving days might be limited in the next decade, you need to be looking at strategic gifting right now. You can use the current high exemptions to transfer wealth to your kids or into trusts tax-free before the rules change in 2026. Don't let the government tax your wealth when you die, and don't let the nursing home take it while you live. You built it. It's yours. Protect it. Now, I want to touch on 2 practical things from that original viral video because they are true, but we need to put a financial lens on them. First, the Rio ID. The deadline was pushed to May 2025. You need the star on your license to fly domestically. If you are a senior who is deciding, you know what, I don't really want to go to the DMV to get this Rio ID. I don't fly much anymore. Anyway, that is a psychological shift. That is, you transitioning into a different phase of retirement. When your mobility shrinks, when you stop flying. When you stop driving long distances, your spending patterns change. You spend less on travel. But historically, this is exactly when your medical out-of-pocket expenses begin to surge. You need to sit down with your advisor and shift your portfolio allocation from go-go years travel, leisure to slow-go or no-go years income generation, healthcare preservation. Secondly, the video mentioned taking an AARP defensive driving course for $20 to save 10% on your auto insurance. Is this a good idea? Yes, absolutely. I highly recommend it. But let's be honest, as financial strategists, saving $150 a year on car insurance is like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. Don't have your estate plan in order. It's plugging a tiny hole in a bucket while the entire bottom is ready to fall out from long-term care costs. Take the course. Save the $150. Then take that $150 and use it to buy a consultation with an estate planning attorney in your state. So, let's wrap this up and bring it all home. The federal government is not passing a law to steal your driver's license in 2026. That is fear-mongering clickbait, designed to get views. The real story, the one that actually impacts your wallet, your family, and your peace of mind, is how the loss of driving independence is directly tied to the catastrophic costs of aging in America. Illinois raising the age to 87. Great. California dropping the written test. Fantastic. But don't let those small victories blind you to the macroeconomic reality. Inflation is eating your purchasing power. Nursing homes cost 6 figures a year, and the IRS tax cuts are expiring in 2026. Your defense mechanism isn't complaining about the DMV on Facebook. Your defense mechanism is education, preparation, and airtight legal documentation. Look, you've worked too hard. You've sacrificed too much over the last 40 or 50 years to let a medical diagnosis and the lack of planning wipe out everything you've built. If you found value in this breakdown, if you prefer actual financial strategy over cheap internet panic, do me a favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell. Because while other channels are talking about traffic tickets, we are going to keep talking about how to protect your legacy, minimize your lifetime tax burden, and keep your wealth exactly where it belongs with you and your family. I want you to go down to the comments right now. Tell me what state you are in, and tell me if you have an irrevocable trust or a long-term care plan in place. Until next time, stay informed, stay protected, and I'll see you in the next